Welcome to week 1 of GE3510 Macroeconomics. My name is Bob Steele. I'll be your instructor for this mod. Contact information up top with name, phone number, and email address. Best way to contact typically by email, requesting a few times that we can then meet by phone and or screen share software. Before we get into anything else, first want to make sure that we get set up the third-party software we will be using by McGraw-Hill called Connect. In order to set that up, you want to click on this icon here. Much of the work for this course will be done here as well as the textbook. Therefore, make sure that we get that set up as soon as possible. Once you get that set up, you may need the information down here to get that first report or first setup process done. Once that is done, then we should be able to scroll up here and just click on this icon, and it'll give us a page that looks like this with a little button at the bottom called Connect. We're going to select that Connect. The result will be this page looking something like this. We'll have 5 weeks here of work to do. The ebook is on this side, so make sure that you click this icon to get the book. If you can't get to this page, then let me know as soon as possible. We want to get this set up as soon as possible. Note that once this is set up and we are up and running, we will typically have these 3 tabs once we get into Moodle Rooms and set up the McGraw-Hill Connect. Going back to Moodle Rooms, we're going to scroll down to the information. I'm going to let you go over most of this yourself because this isn't your first course, and we have the course overview to go over most of the overview contents before the first week. I do want to take a look at the syllabi, however. Syllabi will have the same contact information up top, so if you want to print that out, you can have it. Then we have the course description. I'll let you read through that, but we will be doing introduction to macroeconomic topics. Learning objectives, I'll let you go through the specific learning objectives. Instructional materials, note that this textbook will be in McGraw-Hill's Connect. So it will be a virtual textbook, which has a lot of benefits because we can start to highlight pages, we can put notes in the textbook, we can jump around very easily. However, first thing we need to do, of course, is get to the textbook working, and if there's any problems with that, let me know. Then you can go over the resources, the instructional materials. Once again, will be that textbook. Make sure to get that set up. You can go over the topics here, and let me know if you have questions on the topics. It will be macroeconomics. I do want to spend some time with the assessment criteria. Note the criteria here, the percentages for each section of the course. We have the discussion questions worth a huge 21% of the grade. Make sure to pick up as many points of that as possible. My strategy for this class and just about any class would be to pick up as many points in the areas where you have the most control over, and then go into the areas where you have the least control, the quizzes, the tests, the final, with as many points as possible. So the discussion questions, in other words, is not an area where we want to get a passing grade of a C. It's where we really want to get a full credit, 100% of those points, in order to make sure that we pull up any areas where we don't have any control, such as the quizzes. So discussion forums, 21%. Assignments and homework, 33 and 13 respectively. Also an area where there is a lot of work, but an area where we can pick up most of those points. And if we pick up all the points for discussion, assignments, and homework, we're going to those quizzes, which all quizzes, midterm and final, are worth 33%. We can go in there looking pretty well if we pick up all of the other points. That's how I would approach these courses. We're going to go back to Moodle Rooms. So we're back in Moodle Rooms. I'm going to scroll down to the current week that we are in, that being week 1. We have the familiar layout, we have the objectives, we have the topics, and then we have the lessons. We will be covering in the book chapters 1 and chapter 15. The book will be in McGraw-Hill Connect. Typically, what we will do in this course is talk about a topic that will be needed in both macro and microeconomics, and then move to a specifically macroeconomic topic. So think like an economist is going to give us some terms for both micro and macro, give us the concepts of viewing the world through an economic lens. Once we start looking at things in terms of economics, we can really see a lot of things through that perspective, and that's the perspective we want when considering both micro and macroeconomics. Then we're going to move to a more macroeconomic subject, that being the gross domestic product, or GDP. measuring the size of our performance in terms of a total area, total country GDP. And that's kind of like the income statement, how we're doing from time period to time period, the test, the time clock, to know our performance from time period to time period. And typically, we would like to have GDP go up, would be normally the goal, having our output go up, our gross domestic product. We'll talk about what GDP is, how it's calculated, can be a very big topic. It's a tough calculation to get all gross domestic product included in that number. We'll have the resources. You can select these icons. These will give you some instructional videos here. You can go to these instructional videos directly by just copying this URL to go to this playlist and view them outside of Moodle Rooms and not have to go into the portal. We also have audio lectures where you can select this icon. This will take you to something called SoundCloud, and you can listen to the audio lectures here. These are designed to be able to listen to them while you're doing something else. So like if you're doing chores or something like that, so you don't have to view something, or if you're walking around. These are also available in podcast format. So if you have an iPhone, there's an iPodcast that you can find these on, and they should be free there. And if you have another type of phone, I believe Stitcher is the application that you can use and get it on the phone and listen to them while you're driving or going for chores or anything like that. Going back to Moodle Rooms, then we have from the discussion forum on down, that's what we need to get done. Remember that the discussion forums, once again, worth 21% of the grade, huge piece of the grade. You want to get 100% of that 21%. How? You want at least 4 responses in order to pick up full credit. Note, however, 4 is the minimum. So I would post more than 4, because if you have anything less than a great post, then you may not get there in the minimum of 4 posts, but possibly could get there in more than 4. Note that discussion forums are a little bit different than any other type of assignment because they accumulate upwards, meaning posts can give you more points, although some posts may not give you any points depending on the content of the post, but the post can give you more points, and then you accumulate points upwards until you get to full credit. So in other words, a post can't give you negative points typically, so therefore more posts would typically be better. Note, however, that posts can not give you any points depending on the content of the post. The content must add new material to the discussion forum related to the topic of economics, and if you copy and paste anything from a search or something like that, that's fine, but make sure to reference it, don't plagiarize that, and make sure that to get full credit on a post like that, that we also put it in our own words, rephrase it after we post the content, and or critique it. There's going to be a lot of things when we talk about macroeconomics, because it deals with political topics, a lot of topics that they talk about in terms of public policy, and therefore a lot of things are not always true, or at least debatable in terms of these type of topics. So we want to make sure that we're critiquing everything that we find. That's part of the process. Then we have the assignments, projects, homework, and quizzes. Note that most of this work will be done up here in McGraw-Hill's Connect, but although most of it will be done in McGraw-Hill's Connect, it will not all be listed in McGraw-Hill's Connect, and although most of the work will not be done here in Moodle Rooms, it will all be listed. In other words, for example, this homework assignment, I believe, is going to be just here in Moodle Rooms, and you have to do the homework assignment and complete it here. So make sure to pick that up. The way to do that is to always check off Moodle Rooms. This is the place where you check off whether you are doing the work or not, even if done in McGraw-Hill's Connect. So go in here and check everything off as you get it done. Then within McGraw-Hill's Connect, if we scroll up here, we're going to be in week 1. So we're going to select the drop down. Note that the book is over here. Now you could use some of the reading resources in Learn Smart, these assignments, but these assignments are really geared towards doing the questions, the assignments at the end. If you just want to read through the book, which I highly recommend doing, the book over here is often better because it'll be formatted a bit differently. It'll let you highlight, it lets you add notes, it lets you search by the notes. So I would say make sure to use this resource over here. These ones are going to give you multiple choice questions. There should be around 30, less than 30 questions. You can keep going on these after you're done. Just note that once you hit the point where all the questions have been completed, you have full credit. Now, if you get a question wrong, typically there's no pressure on these because they'll just keep on coming around like flashcards until you get them correct, and then you will be complete with it and have the option of then going further if you so choose, but you don't have to at that point. It is a good practice, these questions, for the quizzes because they're formatted in multiple choice format. Then we have this type of assignment, which is typically more of a real world type of assignment or more of a calculation type of assignment. And you want to go through here and make sure to use any options. If there's a check your work feature at the bottom, then you want to make sure to use that feature if it's applicable. Also note there's sometimes a jump to the book feature, which is designed to try to jump to the area around where these questions will be answered. It's not perfect, so don't expect it to just jump to the book where the answer is every time, but it could be helpful and go close to where the answer is within the text. So I'm going to go back to Moodle Rooms over here. Make sure to take the quiz by the end of the week. We don't have much leeway on the quiz in terms of late work, so we take it on a case-by-case basis. Therefore, if you run into a time constraint, even if you don't feel prepared, take the quiz. Don't miss the quiz. Don't get zeros on the tests. Any points are better than no points. They're multiple choice. And so make sure to pick up any points you can, and then go back for late work to homeworks and assignments if you can at a later time, knowing that you will lose points in accordance with Charter College policy. We then have the gradebook up top. Note that the gradebook is going to be the green icon. I have until, I believe, Wednesday to enter the grades after each week. So after the week 1 has closed, I'm going to try to get them in there Tuesday around noon. Therefore, you want to go in there Tuesday around noon, check your grades. As you go through the week, you should be checking everything off and imagining what the gradebook will look like as you complete each assignment. And then I will update the grades fully by Tuesday after the close of the week each Sunday. And you want to go in there, check it, make sure it has it now looks like what you visualize it to look like, given the fact you're checking everything off. And if there are any questions, let me know. If anything changes from a dash to a 0, that's an indication it has not been done. And so therefore you want to see if you can pick it up for late work. So that's going to be it for week 1. Have a great week 1.